at his age. He's 28, 29 years old. You got to think about that calendar. That's a 12-month calendar. Here we are basically in November. So he probably won't be at full strength to the end of November of 2021. So now you start to think about all the snack, crackle, pop, the things that Odell brings to the table, whether it's running reverses, the fast twitch, all of those sort of things when he gets the football in his hands. I don't believe that you'll see the same Odell Beckham when he returns that you see right now, because injuries like this for a wide receiver is very, very tough. It's not an Achilles. It's an ACL, which still takes a long time to rehab, Stephen A.
Well, first of all, I'm sad. I'm sad for him because here's the bottom line. We weren't seeing the Odell Beckham Jr. you were talking about anyway. And it was primarily because of who his quarterback was. We all know what time it is, and it's ironic to me, or more than a mere coincidence, that the play that he got injured on was an interception by Baker Mayfield. Now, who looked absolutely fantastic. Props to Baker Mayfield after Odell Beckham Jr. went down the way he connected on 21 straight passes. But prior to that, that was a bad throw on his part. It was an interception. And then as a result, Odell Beckham Jr. trying to, catch the guy that intercepted the ball ultimately, caught his foot in the turf. It looked like a little bit and messed up his knee. And so I find that a bit ironic, to say the least. Having said all of that, Odell Beckham Jr. has 23 receptions on the season in the first 7 games. That's less than 4 receptions a game. He's not even their leading receiver, not in receptions, not in yards, and he clearly wasn't happy there with everything that was transpiring. And for him to go down like this, clearly he was looking for his money. He was looking to go somewhere else at the end of this season, if not before the November 3rd trading deadline. And now all of that is done. We don't know. In all likelihood, he's not going to be back next season. He's clearly out for this season. So we're not going to see him before 2022. And as a result of that, coming off the ACL injury, the one thing that we're assured of is that he's not going to get his money, the money that he covets down the line, number one. And number two, wherever he ends up, it's not like everybody's going to be kicking in their doors to get him. So he might not end up where he wanted to end up. It's a real sad situation.
We all know what this is heading for. Belichick's getting Odell on a discount in a couple of years. But here's the thing. That's painful to watch. Odell is a good dude. Like, if you talk to teammates of his, by and large, they like him.
Yes.
He wants to be great, but he wears his heart on his sleeve. And people who have passion like that, especially young people who don't have as much of a filter, when cameras and microphones are in their face, they're going to say some things that turn some people off or behave in ways. Most of us fall into that category. By the way,
things like that.
We're asking athletes like Odell not only be a 1 in a million athlete, be a 1 in a million person who could handle all the attention, right? I feel bad because, to me, over the years, he's matured. And it seems like he was ready to really be great. And when I said they needed to deal Odell, it wasn't just for Odell, also Baker. Those two have no chemistry. And then when Odell leaves the game, Baker balls out, right? It's not about hating each other or something. I don't think. They just don't have chemistry. I think they're both better off without each other. Let me say something about what Key said. ACL, it's like a catastrophic injury. If it takes a year to come back, so we're talking about November,
November
2021, that means really 2022 is when we see him again. So he's 29 years old. But really, a lot of times, it takes a full season for a guy coming off a catastrophic injury to get back to what he was. So really, we might not see the Odell Beckham Jr. till 2023. Now he's 30 years old. Now he's not a 22-year-old doing things no one's done at that age. He's 30. So the window for Odell's greatness just shrunk a whole lot. And the trajectory of his career, of one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen, this dude is like athletically different, just completely was altered before our eyes. It was like, this is one of those events I'll remember, like, in a way, when Bo Jackson hurt his hip, and it's like, oh, that guy's never going to be the same again. I was seeing something once in a lifetime or once in a generation, and Odell's talent made me feel that way, and this is a big thing.
Look, Max, there's no question that he has talent. When they put the ball in his hands in Cleveland, we saw what he was capable of doing. Much like y'all, I feel bad for him because I know the way NFL players, athletes, receivers in particular think about their money. I don't care what nobody say. Okay, he's toward the end of that deal that he signed with the Giants in terms of real money, whether he was going to be in Cleveland next year or somewhere else, that was going to have to be addressed. Now all that, like you say, Stephen, is in major jeopardy. It's in major jeopardy because we don't know what he's going to be when he comes back. Who's going to make him their number one coming off an ACL? If they would have traded for him this offseason, you say, well, New England, he could be their one. 2 years from now, and he's not. Nobody's looking at him like that.
Because of what you highlighted in terms of the restrictions that ultimately hit you once you suffer such an injury. Because of that reality, it's not just, he doesn't just need to come back, but he needs to be in an ideal situation to have a chance to get the kind of things that he wants. And that's and it was hard for him to get what he wanted in terms of ending in that ideal situation, Max and Molly. Even before this injury, he couldn't get to where he wanted. He had Eli Manning as his quarterback, and then he had Baker Mayfield. Odell Beckham Jr. has not had an elite quarterback throwing him the damn football. And now he's injured.
You're feeling like his prime's really wasted. I want to go back to something you said earlier, because he gets injured on a play throwing a pick, and then after the fact, he threw like 5 touchdowns, Baker, and was ridiculous. Baker Mayfield actually has a better passer rating when Odell's not on the field. And we're just saying it's a chemistry thing. I'm not saying Odell's not good. But with that being said, could the Browns ever be better off? Could this be a positive?
You do have people, and I'm quite sure you have executives out there who would say something like this. Odell Beckham Jr. being who he is and demanding the ball or what have you, because you have that presence, it might compromise the productivity of a quarterback like Baker Mayfield. That remains to be seen, but I don't believe it. I don't believe it for 1 second. Here's my thing about Baker Mayfield. Major props to him yesterday. Performed very, very well. But the brother's 5-1 against Cincinnati. And he's like 12-18 against everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on what he did yesterday because it was against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.